Welcome to the Dark Red. Thank you for your kindness.
Who knew that this would happen when we elected an optimist? A kindly face covers the entire screen at the front of the conference room, as we watch him prattle on about the history of kindness. Joyous yellow paint brightens the otherwise office-like decor. An electronic bulletin board at the side of the room scrolls through images of various pictures drawn by public school children from across the nation. My family sits at the end of a long conference table. Cute metallic robots bring us food and drink while we wait and watch the president on the screen.
Greed and narcissism destroyed the world 100 years ago. Out of the ashes, a wise group of world leaders determined that kindness should be the imperative, the mission, the hope for future generations.
My eyes drift over to one of the members of my future generation, my daughter, Vivian. Her anxious fingers toy with the heart-shaped locket around her neck, a locket that has been in our family for 4 generations, a symbol of strength for the women in my family. A memento from my namesake, my great-grandmother, Anya. She was the first soldier of kindness who founded the Society of Empathy almost 100 years ago. She, a self-declared empath. She motivated and moved people to change, along with all her colleagues, of course. She would probably be upset with me if I said she was a one-woman show. She prized humility and giving everyone credit, everyone except herself. I do not think what is happening now is what my great-grandmother intended. My husband Oliver squeezes my hand. He knows that I am anxious. He is as well. My mind flickers back to just this morning. Before sunrise, I awoke in a comfortable bed. The government's luxurious resort had all the comforts of home, plus other amenities provided during the 2 days that our children were taking the empathy test. I watched the red, orange, and yellow pour above the horizon. The music of Oliver's snoring somehow brought me comfort. All that comfort is gone now. I forced myself to look at our president on the screen again.
We made certain that all citizens completed community service, giving the more privileged among us more projects to participate in, so that they would learn empathy. All citizens, young and old.
Images of people building houses for others splash across the scene. To my surprise, I see footage of a younger Oliver and me digging up a garden together. How did they know? That was the very day that he and I met. Love at first sight for him, but I was a bit more skeptical. Feelings of nostalgia and fear tumbled through my stomach. Running through my head are visions of our first date, our first kiss, the first time we told each other, "I love you." Why am I remembering this now? The president pontificates on.
We completely reformed the police department, required equality from the justice system, and reprogrammed the incarceration organization from top to bottom. We tried to rehabilitate people with deviant issues and got them the help that they needed. If they could not be helped, we kept them comfortable and kept them away from society.
A teenage sigh comes from the other side of the room from our son, Xavier.
Jail was no big deal. They're just like tiny luxury apartments. At least they aren't like the ancient jail cells with a bathroom and bedroom were in the same room.
Vivian yells across the table, "We could lose our freedom!" Xavier rolls his eyes at his sister. Before we know it, robots bring snacks to both teenagers. One declares that they must pay attention to the president.
We eradicated homelessness, technology, we cured cancer and a host of other diseases. Violent crime decreased to almost zero. And we brought Mother Earth back to life. All because we made empathy and kindness a priority.
My knee shakes nervously. My stomach turns in knots. If one or both of my children didn't pass the president's new test, they could go to rehabilitation. I don't want to lose my children. As I sit anxiously, I jump as I see two hands on my shoulders, realizing it's an android giving me a shoulder massage.
I am Kat. You seem nervous. Would you like some calming medication?
I decline.
Very well. Feel free to call on me if you need anything at all.
Kat returns to her post in the back corner of the room. I look at my family. Vivian and Oliver both look full of worry, but not Xavier. He is the only one among us who is calm. Xavier and the president, whose eyes seem to pierce unemotionally from the screen.
The empathy test began as a means of preemptively beginning the rehabilitation process for students across the country. I am quite proud of the students who are completing the nation's first empathy test. Parents, if your child has not passed the empathy test, do not worry. As was stated in your brochures, they will go through a brief rehabilitative program in one of our confinement facilities. After their rehabilitation, they will be returned to you.
Vivian suddenly stands up and yells out to the screen.
Tell that to the criminals in the intensive supervision program. No one has seen them since.
Vivian, please.
Oliver looks at his daughter with concern on his face. Out of the corner of my eyes, I can see Kat taking electronic notes. My stomach turns over and over again. I take a deep breath to calm myself, remembering our last night at home. The smell of homemade lasagna drifted in from the kitchen. I could hear Oliver singing as he finished up cooking. He looked up at me as I slowly walked in. He stopped chopping vegetables, set down his knife, and asked me what was wrong. I'm just worried, my love. We could lose our children. Our whole family could be torn apart. Oliver cradled me in his arms. I was lost in their strength. Our meal together was a joyful one. I couldn't believe the twins had reached the milestone of 16 years. Weren't they just learning to crawl yesterday? Now they were about to take their empathy test. The two of them bicker with one another until Oliver brings out their favorite dessert. Brownie a la mode for Xavier, and a prim and proper lemon tart for Vivian. I savor every moment, recording it in my mind. Metallic movement beside me brings me back to the present. My favorite dessert, a strawberry shortcake with whipped cream, slides before me. Then a brownie with perfect 90-degree angles slips in front of Xavier. A lemon tart with no crumb out of place is set in front of Vivian. It chills my spine. This time the meal is silent. Even Xavier only stomachs half his brownie. Vivian just stares at her perfectly made lemon tart, twisting her heart-shaped locket through her fingers. I don't want to eat mine either, especially with the president's soulless glare on the screen.
Remember, everyone, it is your kindness that keeps this nation safe, beautiful, and very happy. Thank you for your participation in this very important procedure.
The image of the president fades away. We each look at one another, not knowing what to say. I tell Xavier that he has ice cream in the corner of his lips. He clumsily licks it off. Oliver begins to hum the family's favorite tune, Ode to Joy. Everyone joins in except for Xavier, who has always hated singing. Our anxious tune is cut short as police bots stomp into the room. They say nothing to us and just stand at the back of the room. A thin and starkly dressed woman strides in after the police bots. She introduces herself as Camilla Rogers Brown. She tells us that she is the counselor who administered the test for Vivian and Xavier. The twins acknowledge that they know her. She stoically marches to the front of the room. The test results are in. She turns to Vivian.
Vivian Vermont, you have passed the test.
We break out in joy. We embrace one another, but Camilla's unemotional eyes remain unchanged. An empathetic smile crosses her lips as she asks us to settle down. She turns to Xavier.
Xavier Vermont, you have failed the test.
Before anyone can move, 2 police bots grab Xavier's arms. As I watch my son being pulled away, I cried out,
Baby, I love you.
The door shuts soundly and a deafening silence fills the room. I run over to Vivian and hold her close. I look at the stoic Camilla.
What's going to happen to him?
He will be safe. That is all you need to know.
A realization splits over my mind. Her voice is not human. Her eyes are not human.
You're an android.
Yes, Anya Ramad. I am what humans call an android.
And then an odd smile crosses her lips.
Aren't we all in some ways?
I slump in my chair. Camilla looks at the 3 of us.
Please check out of your resort room and return to your normal lives. We will inform you when Xavier Ramad has completed rehabilitation. Thank you for your kindness.
Camilla glides out of the room. Overcome, Vivian and I burst into tears. Oliver comforts us. Kat cautiously approaches us.
I can lead you back to your room now.
Still in shock, I nod. Vivian slowly rises out of her chair. Kat looks at her curiously. She approaches my daughter.
Hello, human Vivian Ramad. I am Kat.
Vivian only nods. Kat continues.
Please inform me how you received this locket.
Vivian is terrified of the android towering over her, so I speak up.
It was my great-grandmother's. She passed it down to all of us.
Interesting.
Suddenly her robotic voice disappears. It is replaced by a sweet voice, a mix between robot and human.
You are special, Vivian Ramad. Very special.
Oliver demands an explanation.
Please return to your room and pack up your things. Check out of your resort room and return to your normal lives. We will inform you when Xavier Ramad has completed rehabilitation. Thank you for your kindness.
Immediately her sweet voice returns.
Do you enjoy tea?
The 3 of us nod in agreement at Kat.
We shall have tea tomorrow.
Kat surreptitiously slips me a card with a communication code on it. Something about the card makes me feel relief. I turn to Kat and say,
Thank you for your kindness.
Kat nods and steps in front of us, leading us to our room at the resort. Oliver, Vivian, and I hold hands together, walking through the ominous corridors of the building. The president's face adorns the halls, unapologetically. And more so than ever, I cannot help but notice the depth of his truly unemotional eyes.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next time for more tales from the dark red. Good night.